We'll start the Facebook Live, and today we're speaking about the coronavirus, but it's in English Facebook Live. So we'll go through the updates, what's happening now, and up to date. So basically everything from before that we said, and I'll go over again a bit of the same information I provided, and everything from February 12th, 2020. And since December 8th, 2019. So just to know, it is a new virus. This is a Facebook Live based on today. It's a new virus. Things are evolving very quickly, very fast. So things may change from what you hear today. But again, we're providing just the most updated information regarding that. So my name is Stephanie. I'm a pharmacist and the founder of Healthy Voyage. It was previously Belize. You start seeing the brand change throughout social media and everything. So I'll start right away. Just a bit of update regarding the cases, what's happening globally. So in China, up to date, actually globally, there's 44,600 cases globally, over 1,100 deaths. 2 of those deaths have happened outside of China. So everything is really mostly in China. 200 cases exported from China in 26 countries, and 441 cases outside of China has been reported also. Chinese officials says that the rate of the infection seems to be slowing down a bit, so there's still new cases and all that, but the increase has slowed down a little bit. And the percentage of cases reported outside of Hubei, which is really the major city where everything is happening, compared to cases reported in Hubei, has decreased 20%, so versus 33% in the previous 2 weeks. So we're starting to slowly see, it's slowly, like the increase is not as bad, but then again, it's really hard to tell. It's very early. It doesn't seem like we've reached a peak yet, so this is very early data. Out of all the cases, there's at least 500 cases of the coronavirus 19 that is from healthcare providers within Wuhan. So this is one of the most, it's still a big number regarding this. Of the 48 cases confirmed outside of China, 40 also were from the Diamond Princess, the cruise that was quarantined in the port of Yokohama in Japan. So these cases are what we mostly see. There's a lot of cases also, well, the second most, the place in the world where there's the most confirmed cases outside of China is Singapore. Again, there's a lot of traveling everywhere, so this is really what's been causing this spread. The coronavirus has a new name now. The WHO, World Health Organization, named it COVID, COVID-19. So CO for corona, VI for virus, and D for disease. And the virus causing the disease has been named Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome Coronavirus 2. So like the SARS, but number 2. Where does it mainly happen? As I said before, it's really mainly in China, Hubei, the biggest place, really. Henan, Guangdong, Beijing, Shanghai. There's a bunch of different cities also in China where it had spread. And it's important to know that, yes, there's deaths, yes, there are cases, but a lot of cases have been discharged and are still healthy, so it just passed and it went away within their system. There's a lot of, there's a little bit of local transmissions in other countries, such as Australia, Hong Kong, Japan, Macau, Philippines, Singapore, South Korea, Taiwan, France, Thailand, Germany, and other places. Also, I'm not going to cite it all, or else it's just going to be citing all the places. There's a lot of preventive measures that have been taken in Wuhan mostly, so it's pretty much locked down, as you can see with the news and everything. It's really to control the spread. As we see, it's a disease, and I'll get through that after, that is easily transmitted from a person to a person, so we really want to slow down the spread of the disease. And this is what China and the authorities have established in different countries, and mostly around the area of Wuhan. So every transportation is restricted, from trains, airports, ferries, subways, etc. And many other countries within the world have established preventive measures, and even in the UK, there's some legal measures if someone doesn't help reduce the spread of the coronavirus. So usually when someone comes back from China, or especially from Hubei, they'll be in quarantine. Quarantine means like they're going to be isolated or in an enclosed place for 14 days, because this is the delay that has been known up to now for causing potential to get the infection, for the infection to develop. I'm sorry. There's a few countries, examples that are doing this. So Singapore, Israel, Maldives, Bermuda, Indonesia. So any travelers coming from China to these countries. The US also and other countries are slowly taking that route as well. There are many airlines restrictions. So if you're a traveler, business traveler, or a leisure traveler, and something is coming up, make sure that your flights haven't changed or anything, especially if you have any layovers, so that's important. Air Canada, Air France, Air India, Air Seoul, American Airlines, but British Airways, a bunch. There's really a lot, and some have just started in February. Some has stopped all the flights from and to China since January. There's no flights from Wuhan, so this is really the place where it's mostly happening, where everything is started. They closed all international and domestic flights, and a lot around the borders. So Kazakhstan, North Korea, Russia has also really reduced and ceased any transportation. So careful again for any layovers, just to make sure that even if you're in the layover, they're going to assume that you're coming from that country. Canada and the United States have repatriated a bunch of Canadian and United States, US citizens, and they have been in quarantine in Texas, Nebraska, California. There's a bunch of different places, and in Canada as well. Up to now, Canada has seen 7 reported cases. So it's really still a really low risk, and the 7 cases are spread between Ontario and British Columbia. Imported cases, as I said, so really in Singapore, Thailand, there's a bunch of countries where it was imported. There's different numbers. I won't really go into those details. If you have any question, please don't hesitate to send an email or to info@healthyvoyage.com. So what is a coronavirus really? Well, what does it do? Where does it come from? So it's a novel virus that has a crown-like spikes, and that's why it's called corona. Corona means crown in Spanish, and it's basically, it causes respiratory illnesses and sometimes even gastrointestinal illnesses, depending on the type of the coronavirus. Other viruses in that family, if we want, have been reported. So SARS in China in 2003, MERS in Saudi Arabia in 2012, and COVID-19 in China 2019. This was discovered basically in a small cluster, like new cases of pneumonia were discovered in a cluster. So the health authorities started investigating, and they discovered this new disease, this new virus that was infecting a bunch of people, and the cases were increasing. The origin of general coronaviruses, usually they come either from animals, sometimes they jump to humans, or they're transmitted through mutations or direct contact. SARS, for example, came from civets, musk cats. MERS came from camels, and COVID, we're not sure yet, but there's the first, we saw a bit of information, maybe a pangolin. So it wasn't an animal that I was very familiar with, so I Googled it. You could Google it, Pangolin. You'll have a bit more details about what it looks like and what it is. Transmission, so how is it transmitted? How could you protect yourself? How could you not transmit it to someone else? Because as a traveler, as a human, you may get it, but you also become a vector to other potential humans to get it. So animal to person, as we saw, that we're still exploring, and it's still being studied, and human to human. So it's not an airborne. This was confirmed. It doesn't seem like it's an airborne disease. It's really a droplet. So droplet means any secretion or from an infected person. So if you cough, if you sneeze, then you're at risk of transmitting that disease that is in these secretion. So it's a bit similar to influenza, and basically how you get it is from contact. So contacting someone that, coming in contact with someone that has either nasal secretion, mouth, so someone that just does this and shakes your hand, you may be at risk of getting it. Also close contact, so different data has changed. Some say 3 feet, some say 6 feet, so 1 meter or 2 meters. I would say just to be safe, we'd rather stay at 2 meters for a prolonged period. So if you're in close contact with someone for a long time, so family, cohabitation, sharing rooms, hospitals, and a lot of healthcare providers, obviously, then you're at increased risk of transmitting and getting it, or direct contact with someone's secretion, saliva, as I said, like shaking someone's hands if you didn't wash your hands. It's important to say that it's virtually impossible to really stop the spread of all these diseases. I have a new thing. Oh, there's a few people here. Hi, everyone. I'm hearing people. I'm seeing people. So other risk factors, who's at risk? It's so people in contact with animals, mostly in the markets, mostly in China, obviously. Families of people, either people coming back from their trip or people within, like if you're speaking China, it's everyone that's in contact with families or people that were in contact with someone that had it, and hospital workers. The age, also someone that's going to be more at risk of getting a more severe illness is someone that is over 50 usually and has already pre-existing conditions such as diabetes, heart conditions, previous heart attack, or anything of that source, and a weakened immune system. And when we're talking weakened immune system, it's not just like feeling tired or sick, or it's really a diagnosed immunocompromised person, so someone that's maybe on cancer treatment, or there's a bunch of medication that also reduce your immunity. So these people are really at higher risk of getting a severe form of the coronavirus, COVID-19. What are the symptoms? So how do you know that you have it, or what do you feel when you get that infection? Fever, so over 38 degrees Celsius, so when you take your temperature by the mouth. Coughing, difficulty breathing, so this has been coming up, and this is usually mostly the case, the most severe cases, so really a hard time to breathe. Runny nose, sore throat, and in really more severe cases, so pneumonia, kidney failure, and the mortality ratio, so what's the percentage, like if you get it, what's the percentage of potentially dying, is still unknown, because the cases that I said, like 45,000 cases that have been reported, out of those, there's maybe a bunch that have not been reported yet, or have not been diagnosed yet, or have not been, or the person didn't go see a healthcare provider. So the number is what have been reported. What's not reported, we don't know, which makes the ratio vary and unsure. The previous ones were between 2 and 4%, but it's really not a data we should focus on. How can I know if I was infected with the coronavirus? So usually the symptoms, as you saw, it's really not specific. You could get like a fever or coughing. If you have a bacterial pneumonia, or if you have the flu, it's the flu season now. So it's also very hard to distinguish between having a coronavirus or a flu or a cold or a bunch of other diseases that do cause these kind of symptoms as well. So usually when you get these symptoms, it would be good to go see a healthcare provider, and usually they will do a PCR test, and this is how they diagnose to really know that it's a coronavirus or another potential virus or infection. So when to see a healthcare provider, as I said, usually it's mostly when you get these symptoms. So fever over 38 degrees Celsius when you take it by the mouth, cough, trouble breathing. Even if you didn't travel in places related to China, or you don't know if you were in contact with someone that did travel in places at risk, if you have trouble breathing, you should go either call 911 or seek advice from a healthcare provider. If you have been in contact or traveled to China within 14 days before your symptoms, it's important to tell the healthcare provider. Even if you go to the emergency and have these symptoms, tell people right away. Ideally, wear a mask if you have one before you get there, so you don't infect everyone within the hospital. It's in the hospital, it's very hard everyone's sick basically, so you don't want to make things worse. If you have mild symptoms, you're coming back from a trip, you're young, you're okay, you could just stay home and stay away from your close ones and in contact. So